Hello, guys. The format has developed. We have gotten our first real tournament results. And of course, the deck also had a little bit more testing in it ever since the release of the ban list. So I would like to update the Dogmatika deck profile. And this update is not only to the deck list, but also how the deck list is played. Because this is blind second, okay? So this will have its issues in the coming format, of course, with the sense that some people might opt to play unfairly, as in, like, try to lock you out of the game, which you can't do much more than draw the out against. But if you want to play the stack, it's better. It's definitely better than the alternative of having to face all the strong board breaker cards that exist in this format. This deck's boards are not the creme de la creme or anything, which is why it's just more worth it to go second and abuse the already powerful going second aspect of the Dogmatika engine, which makes your deck way more consistent and playable when going second. And then just using that to break boards due to boards like Kashtira and the normal branded board, the one without expulsion, to get OTK through and stuff like that. And this deck is very capable at OTKing the branded board, as well as multiple rogue boards, but it will suffer when your opponent puts up cards that simply say you cannot. So that is a disclaimer. But anyways, let's get into the list. There's some new spice in it that I have theorized with a couple of other people, and it's been working out very well so far in practice. So first of all, let's start with the basics. 3 Ecclesia. This is obvious. She's pretty damn good at going second simply because she searches for Matrix. Matrix is insane going second because it's a +2. Your opponent really has to to negate it, and even if they ash the Matrix, you still have the on-field effect ready if you can manage a ritual summon. So it even trades very well into Ash. 1 Fleur and 1 Maximus for the big bricks. You can decide if you want to cut Maximus or not, but I've been liking Maximus as he is an alternative search target to Ecclesia if you already have Ecclesia and you just need a little bit more stopping power. So that is quite important. Fleur de Lis is very helpful at breaking boards because she's big and she becomes even bigger. I mean, a 3000 monster in battle phase is pretty damn solid. And then also 1 Relic, 1 White Knight, and I'm still running on the Zoa. Some of my colleagues are cutting the Zoa in favor of a 2nd Relic, because what I've never mentioned is the summon effect of Relic is not once per turn. Only the extra deck looking part of Relic is once per turn. So what you could technically do is summon Relic 1 with Calamity and summon Relic 2 with Macabre, and take the boost from the first Relic and apply it with the 2nd Relic to another monster. Or you can just recursion loop it to make a really big monster, which is good and all, but it will suffer when your opponent has specifically imperm for it. And Alba Zoa is for that situation where your opponent has extra deck disruption still available to them because you were not able to completely bait it. So you can just slap an Alba Zoa on board and then usually ignore most of the extra deck disruption, the extra deck based disruption, just by using him. And also he's still 4,000, so he's quite big, which is important, especially because of a card that we're playing. So that's the Dogmatika main deck monsters. We are also maining another Alba's Lure card, When Fallen of Albaz. You can guess where this is hinting towards. Then for the only monster hand trap in the deck, I'm thinking about siding Bestials, but Ash Blossom is generally very solid and one of the few answers you can have to the Gimmick Puppet by either you ashing the Branded Fusion to stop them from getting the Gimmick Puppet in Graveyard, or you ash the Albion, but that does not guarantee that they don't have Expulsion. It's your call, honestly. But Ash Blossom is generally good against Branded. And it's also okay in every other matchup. Sometimes it's just important to disrupt the Kashtira player. Then for our spells, triple piss off my enemy. Because whenever you open a deer, your opponent gets salty that that you have everything. Dumb card. The actual have everything card. Honestly, like Matrix is better than Nadir itself in this deck, simply because of all the value you generate. This thing is Nadir with an extra search if you can resolve, if you are allowed to play. At least specifically going second, and yes, blind second it is this deck profile. And then, yep, I'm playing it. Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion has written on its text, when you activate this card, your opponent manifests an Ash Blossom and ashes this, which is something I'm actually abusing in this deck rather than just going for the fact that that this card is good in general. Like, we're also abusing this card as a good card in general, even if it resolves. And it can, and this thing outs the Arise Art, which then allows you on main phase 2 to break the ward. And this card also has an out to the Arise Art under Shifter, but Shifter is kind of rough. Yeah, we're not playing any searchers directly for this. Well, technically we're playing one, but it's never going to search that card. For the last couple of Dogmatika spells, 2 and 2, you can technically cut one Calamity, but I don't like it. I like to have the option, simply because Calamity is quite good. Some people will scream at you for main decking those, but I decided to go blind second, and this card simply trivializes every matchup except for Kashtira and the Labyrinth. This card just like says you win against Branded, because this thing is trading 0 for 1 against Branded, and it plays around Mirror Jade, or it plays around the Rintbron graveyard effect, which is quite important. And also this thing is searchable, and we search it via Triple Tactics Tasking, which also searches Talent. Talent is great at breaking the Kashtira board, because you take the Arise Heart, you try to get it to have 3 materials, and then you use the Arise Heart to banish itself. And in general, Talents is pretty damn good, especially if you can like make sure that they don't have any answer to you OTKing them. The nice thing about this deck is it OTKs in 4 summons, which is pretty damn solid. Book of Moon. I like Book of Moon right now. If you get impermed on Ecclesia, you can just book your Ecclesia if needed. Otherwise, you just book the Arise Heart. You book monsters that you don't really want to deal with. And that is quite potent. And worst case scenario, you can even book a Nibley. And the nice thing about Book 2 is it is something you can use on your opponent's turn. So if you play into Kashtira and you were able to out the birth, you can stop them from playing their turn. And then this is the 40th card, Harpy's Feather Duster. You could also play a different card, of course. Your choice. You could play a second Fallen of Albaz if you are scared about people banishing the Albaz. Then for our traps, triple Imperm. Usually I want to save this for my turn, but sometimes it's just too lucrative to use the Imperm specifically, like against Sprite. It's kind of good against the Arashima or the Gigantic. It depends, though, if they already can get a carrot out. So I would usually just shotgun this on the Gigantic and then pray. And then Punishment. Even though we're going second, we still need something that we can use to disrupt our opponent from getting back into the game if the OTK failed, which Punishment does quite like a charm. Then extra deck, 2 Arclight, Omega Sigma. Standard, I wouldn't change unless I take out the Albazoa. In that case, I would take out Final Sigma. Triple Entos. If you could, you would play 6. Resolving 3 on your opponent on your turn is quite easy, which is quite funny. 2 Ash Dragon. This ratio is like now absolutely fixed towards me. I would not play any different ratio of them. 1 Grand Guino. He's the less important one, but he's still quite good, specifically against decks like Sword Soul and optionally Drytron. Also, we are summoning him sometimes, depending on the board state. And he can get up to 41,000 attack, 4,100 attack, which is important. Albion, the Branded Dragon. We are also using both effects, but the second effect is in the side deck. Albion is generally just a way to get to Mirror Jade, and Mirror Jade is just insane. Because Mirror Jade in this deck gets you towards your Dogmatika stuff, which is, again, important. That rounds up all the Branded Dragons. And also the Kashtira players, they will always banish the Mirror Jade. Garura. Draw 1. Garura. Draw 1. And then for Xyz target, Mirror Logic Collector, Aggregator. What I did not know about this card is this card negates any card, not just monsters. So you can negate Runic Fountain. Shout out to SVNMS, the top-rated branded Dogmatika player on DB. I think he's place 17 right now with going second Bestial Dogmatika. I don't have the cards to imitate his deck list, but it's quite good, and if you can watch him play, it's quite hilarious. But he goes for a route without Zoa. Yeah, this card negates stuff, and it's the best Xyz target. We don't need the Zeus anymore because it's just not worth it. For our side deck, I've packed these into the side deck simply because I noticed they don't do anything against Kashtira. There's this saying, the Kashtira board is not broken by engine, and this card is engine, so, or it's part of an engine, so therefore it cannot break the Kashtira board. At least not alone, because your opponent can just like chain something, where I would have to play like a Rise Heart and stuff to get a Zeus play out, but I don't have the extra deck space. And also, it would play around, would have a negative synergy with Branded Fusion. This ulti is going to be gone today. Just sold it. I pulled it yesterday. Speaking of locals, by the way, this deck has gone 3 times 3-1 at locals. Always lost to something that like kind of hard counters the deck, like Drytron. Yeah, Drytron just destroys this deck because Drytron is an unfair deck, and this deck is built to destroy fair decks. We hate back row, and Pancratops is a good boy. So whenever I see like a matchup where he shines, I'll side him in. But you could also just decide to main him. I just like the option of having the Harpy's Feather Duster just to clear out back row. If I see a Labyrinth player like overstepping his boundaries and going in the main phase, or in before end phase, going to do Lady Labyrinth effect, I would go and just tasking for Harpy's Feather Duster, which is why I'm maining it rather than Pancratops. But you can also main Pancratops if you like it. One Dark Ruler, no more. This is just a side-in for ratios against Kashtira, because the only card we care about in Kashtira is specifically a Rise Heart. Light of the Branded. This is the branded card that we can set off of our Albion. This card is like a little bit different towards compared to Ultimate Slayer, but this card also gets rid of cards in the graveyard, and it can recycle your own fusion monsters. So because we are only playing one Garua, it can recycle Garua, or it can recycle all your one of your Intisus if you already went through all 3. And it's also a quick play spell card, so if you draw it and you don't have to use it against Branded, it is quite damn solid. And now for the best card in the side deck, Denko, Destroyer of Sekka. This card, like a lot of decks, like to diversify their interruptions, and some people I think it's funny to have a set D barrier and wait so long with the D barrier that you can like that until you like do anything that D barrier would stop, and then they chain D barrier to the thing they would stop because they're greedy for the +1. But Denko Sekka just says smash, and then you special summon an Ecclesia because your opponent controls an extra deck monster, and cards like Sprite Smashers, Branded in Red, all the stuff, it's just dead. Because like what you're gonna do is like first you're going to out like the Mirror Jade, and then you drop the Denko Sekka. Because after you drop the after you get the Mirror Jade away, Denko Sekka just says they don't have any interruptions anymore. And then you just try to play minimalistic ritual stuff and just try to get your rituals out without special summoning monsters with the effects of monsters, which is quite damn solid. Quite a solid way to play around Grand Guignol, because this deck can trigger Grand Guignol, but if you can play around it, you should. All in all, going blind second with this is quite funny. I would say it's comparable to Mech Knight in 2018, 2019 when it comes to going second power back then. Uh, it, it only has like a lot of tools due to the sheer brokenness that are going second cards right now. And we are playing around going second cards by going second, which that in return means that we don't have to worry too much about board breakers ruining our day. So we can play around stuff like Lava Golem, which we otherwise in engine could only do if we open Branded Fusion. But yeah, because we're going second, we're just the ones that are hoping to open those, and we hope your opponent opens them too, so they don't have any plays. And you can OTK. Before I end this deck profile, I would like to show a couple of OTK routes that you have to be aware. So first of all, like, if your opponent has any controls any monster, what you will do is you first go for Branded Fusion. Your opponent will usually ash that, but if they don't have any response to that, you can now decide to do this play here. You send Albaz and any light monster. I would, in this case, like, for example, send a White Knight just so you have them set up in your graveyard. You go for the Albion. And Albion will banish itself and the Fallen of Albaz to get yourself a Mirror Jade. This is already 3,000 damage. If you activated Ultimate Slayer, by the way, you're not banishing the Albion. You would banish whatever the Ultimate Slayer would have sent. So activate Ultimate Slayer before Branded Fusion. This will get you one body extra. Now we can, if they still control a monster, and that is like the idea, you don't out their last monster until you go into the battle phase. Then you activate Matrix. Matrix will get you access towards an Ecclesia. And either you search Zoa, Relic, or Calamity. Either one of these is OTK. You search Relic if you want, if you don't play Zoa, or if you want to destroy another monster, because the Relic summon would beat 3 monsters. The Zoa summon only beats 2 monsters, but it is more safe into Imperm. And so what you do is special summon Ecclesia because you control a monster summoned from the extra deck. Calamity. If you summon Relic, you go Relic target Mirror Jade targets Relic. So she's 3/5, and this is and what you will send is 1 Entus, and then you can send another Entus off of Calamity. And you can send a Titanic Lad off of Mirror Jade to banish a monster, which then takes care of 3 monsters on board. The only difference between this and this is we now have 500 more damage. And this thing protects you from your opponent's extra deck monster effects, which is also quite damn good. But you trade that value for instead sending a dead card like Final Sigma. But still, this is 8,500 damage, and it takes care of 2 monsters. And it gives you follow-up in the OTK. And this still is in 4 summons, which is quite relevant. If they manage to kill you, you will have to play into Nibiru to get a board. but that is fine, honestly, because you still have a Mirror Jade sitting, and the Mirror Jade will take out the Nibiru, and yeah, that's about it. Then the next OTK line you have to know is this plus this. Wait, actually, I'm not too sure if this is one of the lines. Actually, this should be the line. So yeah, you get matrix. With matrix, you get yourself Albazoa and Calamity. And you also either get yourself Ecclesia or Maximus. This, of course, is greedy as fuck. But you go Calamity, summon Zoa. You send yourself the final Sigma. Then you use Matrix to search yourself one Macabre, because searching Macabre is better. Special Maximus, banish. And yes, we're banishing the light monster simply to stop bestials. Then we use Maximus effect. We send Entus Arclight to destroy one of their monsters. You can summon this in attack or defense depending on how much damage you need. We're using Entus to pop one monster. And Arclight is going to search ourselves the relic. And then you use Macabre to special summon relic, banish. And then you can use relic to boost up either Maximus or relic. And that will end up in 10k damage, which is quite solid. So I would usually choose to boost up relic, because relic is the weakest monster of them all. And therefore you're not forced, you get more damage through a defense position monster. But in general, this is 3 summons and 10k. But sometimes you just cannot OTK, so you just have to be aware that if you cannot OTK, you will have to resort to doing stuff like White Knight passing on an advanced board state, which is okay. White Knight gets it way better if your opponent already did their starting combo, because then they have to do lines a little bit differently. The turn 3 stuff that people do is usually not like pre-programmed, but you should be like mainly aware what you can accomplish with that. Yeah, and this is like an example hand. This is, of course, very good. So if we would want to apply this hand, the first thing we do is Branded Fusion, because it will eat Ash. And if it does not eat Ash, it's fine. It's even better. And then we are going to use Nadir, then Matrix, and then... and of course we are going to use Imperm to negate whatever we have to negate. Ash Blossom we would say for their Branded Fusion. In general, that would have been an insane hand. And I'll do one last test hand. This is a little bit more spontaneous than I thought with the test hands. Okay, so this hand is literally just do Branded Fusion and hope they have Ash. Because if they have Ash, you can play through a lot. You're going to try to, you only have like 2 accesses to bait monster effects. but it will be quite important. If you can manage to bait a monster effect, you're good. I would also probably think about, with the Branded Fusion, to send out the Branded Fusion, if that thing resolves, and we're going to play into Imperm, but we're going to summon Albion, and we're going to, in this case, send Albaz and White Knight. Because we don't have any extra monsters. This just gives us something that we can do in case we like suffer when it comes to board breaking. So in case we get like impermed on this, you can go Macabre and then summon back. So yeah, that is relevant. And then if you did not resolve the Albion, you still have the option to use Omega to recycle the Fallen of Albaz and get yourself a Titaniclad summon. And Titaniclad is, by the way, the out towards Arise Heart because it is unaffected and it becomes up to 4,100 attack. Because what you do if you want to summon Titaniclad is you send Albaz and you send Zoa, which equals the level of 16 in total, which means Titaniclad would become an unaffected 4,100 beater against the Kashtira board. And you get a guaranteed extra deck monster on the field, so afterwards you do not have to worry about outing their extra deck monsters. You could just like out them without any problem. And because this thing is unaffected by this, the likes of a Rise Heart, they won't be able to get rid of that kind of board presence, and you will always be able to fleur, which is quite damn good. Anyways, that rounds up all the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. I encourage experimenting with this deck. See ya.